core to Farallon's longevity and success has been a strong culture of compliance. Each employee is expected to act in furtherance of this shared goal. To sustain this culture, you and every employee are required to make a commitment to be in compliance with our policies and procedures. Today's training is in support of this goal. A key source of these policies and procedures is our compliance manual, which includes the Code of Ethics. All employees are expected to be knowledgeable of the applicable compliance policies and procedures. The compliance manual and other key policies and procedures are available on the Farallon intranet via the compliance link. You may also request soft or hard copies from compliance. Take compliance obligations seriously by asking questions and seeking clarification. Compliance would like to learn of any concerns and suggestions relating to our compliance program. Report violations of Farallon's compliance policies or violations of other laws applicable to Farallon's business to the Chief Compliance Officer or General Counsel. Internal complaints are taken seriously and will be kept confidential to the extent reasonably practical, consistent with applicable law and policy. No employee will suffer any retaliation for good faith reporting of violations or asking questions. Employees should seek to avoid conflicts of interest or the appearance of conflicts. A conflict of interest may occur when the employee places his or her interest ahead of the interests of our investors or the firm. Unfortunately, no firm can completely eliminate all conflicts of interest. You are responsible for identifying potential or actual conflicts and seeking advice from compliance on these conflicts. We have policies and procedures, including the Conflicts of Interest Guidelines and internal controls in place to help employees identify and avoid conflicts of interest. Outside business activities are discouraged, and you must pre-clear with compliance any official or unofficial role with an outside for-profit company. The firm's conflicts log tracks these activities and other conflicts disclosed in response to our conflicts questionnaire. We understand that you may choose to support nonprofit organizations, but consider potential conflicts before accepting a position on a charitable board. Please remember to seek approval from compliance before accepting a role on a charitable board, which involves making or recommending investments. Gifts must be consistent with good business practices and must not be accepted or provided with the intent to influence independence, objectivity, or decision-making. We count on your good judgment to build appropriate business relationships. Gifts must be of a reasonable value, but pre-clearance is required for all gifts received or given that are valued over $100. Cash gifts are never acceptable. Remember, all gifts given, regardless of value, must be logged. In San Francisco, gifts received during the holiday season are to be collected by the front desk staff for inclusion in the gift pool for the December lottery. Entertainment must be consistent with good business practices, must not be frequent or excessive, and must not be accepted or provided to influence or appear to influence decision-making. When appropriate, you may entertain or be entertained by investors, prospective investors, or other parties seeking to do business with Farallon. However, you must pre-clear with compliance entertainment you would like to provide or accept that may be valued at greater than $300 per person. There are heightened pre-clearance requirements when gifts or entertainment involve a U.S. or foreign government entity, such as pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, elected officials, or regulators. Compliance with U.S. and applicable foreign insider trading laws is of paramount importance. In addition to the severe criminal and civil penalties for both the individual and the firm for violating insider trading laws, even an allegation of bad behavior can have a devastating impact. Farallon has created extensive policies and procedures, including the policy against insider trading and training to limit and manage the receipt, disclosure, or use of material non-public information, or MNPI. If you have questions or think you may be in possession of MNPI, contact compliance immediately. our policies and procedures include internal controls for the prevention of money laundering. Anti-money laundering regulations and Farallon's policy require us to complete due diligence procedures on our investors to avoid our enabling money laundering either knowingly or unknowingly. Business transactions should be transparent and show the origin and purpose of payments. Unusual or suspicious financial activity, which doesn't appear to have a legal purpose, is usually a red flag and should be reported to the AML compliance officer. Farallon has developed procedures to track and archive communications with current and prospective investors. Legal works with the Investor Relations Group to review and approve marketing materials and other investor correspondence. Please remember to involve and notify investor relations of your correspondence and interactions with any current or prospective investors. Please note that the term "you" within the context of the personal trading policy refers not only to yourself, but also to your spouse, any dependent children living in your household, and any other immediate family members living with you. You are required to report your security holdings within 10 days of joining Farallon and annually thereafter. You must provide brokerage account statements as requested if your account is not held at a firm that provides Farallon with an electronic feed. You should notify compliance each time you open a new brokerage account or if you experience any life events that change your household composition. You are prohibited from purchasing single-name securities such as stocks, bonds, options, and associated derivatives. You must obtain pre-clearance if you wish to sell any existing position. However, you are permitted to invest in mutual funds without pre-clearance, and your spouse is allowed to receive securities as part of his or her employment. ETFs, private placements, and other investments may be permitted but are subject to pre-clearance. Violations of the personal trading rules contained in the Code of Ethics will result in a memo to your compliance file, which will be shared with your supervisor. You, your spouse, and other family members whose accounts you have disclosed must make all personal trade requests through the PTCC Compliance Science System. Once your trade is approved, you have 3 business days to execute it. If you do not execute your trade within that window, but you still want to trade the security, you must seek pre-clearance again. All employees also are responsible for submitting quarterly transaction certifications and annual holdings reports online in a timely fashion. As with personal trading violations, late submissions of your certifications will result in a memo to your compliance file that will be shared with your supervisor. Multiple violations or memos to your compliance file will result in additional training and could also result in fines or other disciplinary actions. In addition, know that both the SEC and investors are focused on frequency and type of employee violations. Farallon is subject to a broad range of rules relating to political activities. A violation of those rules could be harmful to our business and reputation. For example, under the federal pay-to-play rules, certain political contributions may subject our firm to a 2-year ban on receiving advisory fees from a government entity. Therefore, you are required to pre-clear all political contributions. For example, contributions to one of the following recipients: a federal, state, local, or foreign government official, a federal, state, local, or foreign candidate, a political party of a federal, state, or local government entity, or a political action committee or super PAC. Compliance approval is required prior to providing gifts or entertainment of any value to U.S. or foreign government officials or employees. The spouses and dependents of covered associates are also subject to our political contributions pre-clearance policy. Farallon's covered associates have been notified by compliance of their status. Farallon is required to keep certain books and records. However, not all documents need to be retained. Each group at Farallon has protocols for organizing, retaining, storing, and retrieving records, and for discarding stale records. Required records may be retained in an electronic format. Ask compliance if you are uncertain which documents to retain or how to use Farallon's file storage logs. You are not permitted to conduct business activities on social media. It's okay to post your job title and connect with peers on LinkedIn or similar sites, but you should not post any information regarding business activities. You should consider how your social media use will impact your professional reputation and Farallon's reputation. Our electronic communications policy requires all business-related electronic communications to be conducted through Farallon's approved systems, generally Outlook email and Bloomberg messages. Remember, all electronic communications are subject to internal review and may be subject to examination by the SEC or subpoena by litigants. There should be no expectation of privacy when using these systems. Farallon is the sole owner of all information technology systems. In addition, your internet browsing may be limited and may be monitored from time to time. We recognize employees will occasionally use the approved systems and access the internet for personal use. However, personal use must not encroach on working time or interfere with your job performance. Remember, all electronic communications, business or otherwise, should be professional and respectful. Even when acting in a personal capacity, inappropriate emails, Bloomberg messages, and online conduct may be associated with Farallon and could damage our reputation and potentially harm our business. Cyber threats are also something you need to be aware of, and we rely on your ability to identify malicious content as well as hacking or phishing attempts. We regularly conduct training and exercises to test your compliance with our cybersecurity program. We are strongly committed to respecting and protecting the confidentiality of our investors' financial and personal information and complying with all applicable privacy laws, including those that relate to employee information. We include our privacy policy in an annual disclosure to investors. You should adhere to our policies regarding confidentiality by restricting access and by safeguarding information about our company, our employees, our investors, and all firm communications. Failure to protect information could result in significant reputational harm and may also violate federal, state, and foreign laws and regulations. A regulatory examination of our firm can happen at any time with very short notice. Our goal is to be in a constant state of readiness for an examination, and we count on you and every employee to be cognizant of applicable laws and regulations. We may take appropriate disciplinary action for violation of any compliance policy or procedure. Failure to comply can lead to, among other things, a warning letter, monetary penalties, and/or termination of employment. We trust you will consistently conduct yourself appropriately and continue to be in compliance. It's impossible to cover every situation that may arise in the course of conducting business. Our overarching expectation is that everyone will use good judgment in all circumstances. Ultimately, it is your responsibility to understand Farallon's compliance policies and procedures. Please raise any questions on the compliance policies to Legal and Compliance.